giving you a voice,
making it loud our own way.
Welcome to the fun.
We would like to thank our friends at Stryker for supporting fun so we can continue to make content for you. Stryker is a leading medical device company and is looking for those in FIRST to join their team as interns or for a great career. Come join a company that will actively support you being in FIRST at careers.stryker.com. If you're on an FRC or FTC team and you're currently meeting safely in person and have a functional robot, we'd love to have you on our Behind the Bots or Behind the Bumper segments. Go ahead and reach out to us on any of our social channels, on Discord, or send us an email at admin@firstupdatesnow.com, and let's get your team scheduled to be on First Updates Now.
All right, we're moving to our top 10 here. Ranking number 10 is going to be Team 720 Parker, because it is made by Parker.
So this robot is a little bit of a meme. The tech binder was very passive aggressive. It was hilarious. I'm good friends with Parker. He did it kind of to meme me a little bit, but it does have some really good design. So again, they're kind of favoring. They've got a vectored intake wheel. Intake on the front, which kind of goes into. They're actually using a. It's like a pneumatic kind of clamping jaw thing, similar to what 971 had in 2016 on their shooter, which is cool. It's another one of those where they're kind of dragging the ball on the ground as they're moving, which is not quite ideal. And then the climber would. So the gearbox is mostly fine. My issue with the climber is it extends like 4 inches past the extension limit, so that's not going to be legal. So now he could still make it work. The problem is he was trying to extend it so he could like descore barriers, but you got to pay attention to your extension limits, kids.
Yeah, I think the important thing I got from this is that points go haters gonna hate, and his strategy is primarily around children's tears.
Yeah, it was very much fueled by children's tears.
Yes,
very explicitly.
All right, well, we'll move on to rank number 9. It's going to be Team 662 Spartatronics.
Hey.
All right. So, Nick, you have no team affiliations with these people, so you should give us your honest opinions.
Cool. So, yeah, I did not actually judge this one. I'm just going to give some opinions on this. This robot was submitted by a kid from my team. I didn't do any CAD work for him. I just gave him some mentoring, as you do.
Full disclosure.
Yeah, full disclosure. This robot, I'm really proud of it. I think it's the best thing that he's ever CADed. It's got some really cool details. You can see some very obvious design that he borrowed from 2910. He had their 2020 and 21 robots up the entire time. He learned a lot from it. Fender Hex is awesome for pivots and stuff like that. And it's got a lot of really cool things. He did the math on the arm setup. While it is 1/2-inch hex, but it's done in a way that would probably work. He's got a virtual uneven 4-bar. So what happens is when you're going to grab the barrier, it'll be this way, and then when you're going to score it, it'll be this way. So the virtual 4-bar was done really well. He's got tensioners and springs and stuff in there. So overall, I was a huge fan of this. He did a really good job, and yeah, that's my biased opinion. But again, right. I did not score this one.
So now for some real honest truth, Nick was entirely right. I mean, this robot was fantastic to look at. I loved the manufacturability of it. It's very simple, straightforward. The parts are intelligently designed. They make sense with what they're intended to do. The detail was sufficient. I think it got the message across, which really I think is the best thing for your average team here. The strategy, I felt could benefit from a little bit more details. I thought, looking at it, I knew what their strategy was, but I would have loved to see a little bit more written down. But aside from that, I think that was probably the weakest point. I have no concerns over whether the robot could carry out its intended role. It definitely can. I feel like it would play the game strongly. It doesn't have a climber, though, so it's going to limit its ability to become a captain in this hypothetical regional that we're at.
Oh, yeah.
Overall, I say
Definitely ran out of time.
All right, we will move on to rank number 8 here, and it's going to be Team 103, the Scary Perry people.
I remember this robot. This is the first robot I looked at. This robot has some really cool details. Essentially, they've got a barrier mech on one side, a massive barrier mech. I will mind you. That thing is huge. It could definitely go on, Jenny Craig, lose a bit of weight. I don't understand why it's so big for the role that it does. But I mean, the execution of it, I can't fault it. I mean, it is done well. Their pivot for this entire mechanism is fine. They've got plenty of gearing to get it up and down. They're independently controlling their barrier intake rollers. That way they can spin it if they need to. They're actually doing this really cool thing. It's really hard to see, but they're actually doing a Falcon cycloidal. They actually took the front plate of the Falcon off and replaced it with a cycloidal gearbox, which gives them like some crazy reduction right off the bat. And then they only need like one other reduction for the entire arm for the barrier mech. I will note that you really need to think about how things would be assembled. I counted. You have to take off 20 screws in order to take off one of those arm Falcons, which is obviously not great. I mean, I would hate to be a team that blows a Falcon in, a playoffs match, and you've got, just a little bit of time to get get that fixed. That was kind of my big takeaway. Some really cool things. The Falcon Cycloidal is super unique, but you don't need to use all like 8 screws to mount a Falcon. It's come on, man.
All right. So looking at my evaluation of this robot, I think it was really well done. There's a couple things I would change a little. Most of the parts are manufacturable as they are, but I want to stress that just because you can make something a certain way doesn't mean you should. And just because something works in your mind doesn't mean it will quite exactly work in real life. There is I think it's part of their barrier mechanism. I don't recall. There's a piece of polycarbonate on there that's like twisted 40 or like 90 degrees about its axis, and it's a 1/4 inch thick polycarbonate. And they're like, yeah, polycarbonate's bendy, so we'll just twist it 90 degrees in this like a 5 or 6 inch space. I'm like, that's not how that material works at all.
With a hot enough blowtorch, it'll be fine.
That's why I was going to bend it out. I'm like, okay, let's get like the strongest hair dryer I have in the house and pull out some polycarbonate and try and bend it, and it's shattered. So I was like, okay, I tested this. I don't think it'll work that way. It was really creative, and I wish it did work that way because it would simplify things so much more. But unfortunately, it just didn't work out the way I thought it would. I think overall it's pretty solid. There are a few design decisions that I don't necessarily agree in or have faith in. But again, I'm not the smartest person in the world, so I could be wrong with that. I think fix that, or fix the stuff that doesn't work right. Fix the overlapping parts. There's a lot of overlapping parts in the CAD, but a lot of teams had that. Do that and you're golden.
All right. Well, speaking of gold, we're getting closer and closer to it with rank number 7 here. This means Team 591 Night Vision.
This is actually one of my favorite robots. It is very simple. They are essentially they're doing balls, and they've got a barrier descore, and that's it. They can't climb. They can't actively control the barriers. But and the things that they do that they are doing, they're doing them exceptionally well. Again, this is another one where they've got the vectored intake roller. They've got a small little conveyor to hold the ball to make sure that they can shoot it out with force, which is great. Love to see that. Their let's see, their barrier descore is really simple. It's just a simple little pneumatic that comes out, and then they've essentially got a little wedge. They can undo the barriers. Really simple execution. They didn't overreach. There's a few specifics here and there, like they really want to maybe look at how they're doing their pivots on some things. There are better ways to do it than what they're doing. But again, those are minute details. Overall, really solid, really complete. I really like that they didn't overreach here. Big fan of this robot.
For sure. I love what they did with this robot. I love the whole submission. My favorite part was their strategic design, their analysis. Their strategy explains their robot design decisions perfectly. You could not, like, you don't need to look at the robot. You can look at their strategy and what they're doing to analyze this game and what they consider important. And then just imagine exactly almost what their robot is. They say why they do it. They say how they do it. Their strategy is really well done. They got a lot of points there. And then partnering that with strategic execution, this robot has a very high degree of believability in its ability to perform the listed strategy. And that's the important thing, right? Is this believable? Is this reasonable? Does a robot does a judge look at this robot and say, I have confidence it can do what it says it's going to do? And I say, yes, definitely. I have no doubts. They really have a strong understanding of the scope of their robot and the limitations behind it. The design itself is simple and direct. I love it. I think it's fantastic.
Alrighty, well, we're going to move into number 6 then. It's going to be Team 680 here with CADathon Squid.
The renders for this robot were incredible.
Beautiful.
They were
you need to show all
hilarious.
This they got photorealism down to a science.
Yeah, they've got their robot frolicking in a field. It's a good time. But to get into specifics here, this robot is another one which, for some reason or another, decided that it's better to have 2 identical like shooters and intakes on sides of the robot, so they don't have to turn, rather than just having one and turning their robot. I don't really see why that's justified. Now, the mechanisms themselves are built well. I don't really have many issues with how they're designed. It's just I don't really see why you need 2 of them. Let's see. And then my favorite part of this robot by far is they have a really, really cool climber. Their climber is essentially, it has, it's hard to describe, but essentially it's got like 2 joints essentially, but one of the joints is locked. So what happens is when they first start climbing, the arm is just moving normally, right? So they go here and they lock in, and then they undo this lock. And what happens is they have an extra joint, which is this arm is gonna stay in place, and then the robot's gonna pivot up around that extra joint, which is really freaking cool. I really enjoyed that. Let's see. The only downside of the climber is it's one of those where their ratio isn't quite up to snuff for how much force it's going to be lifting, but the climber is really ambitious. It's really cool. I really like the double jointed mechanism. Really cool.
I think one of my favorite things with this robot has to be the detail they put into their CAD model. I gave them a 9 out of 10. I think it's very clear exactly what they're trying to do, very obvious. I never looked at this and questioned what they did or why they did it, unless I didn't understand it. Now that's a problem with me, right? And then eventually I understood. But I think it's really well done. I agree with Nick. There's a lot of what they have done is really good. Why they're doing it, I think, is a little misguided. I don't agree with the decision of having 2 shooters. I understand the strategy that they want to implement to get the benefit of that. I just don't think it's worth it. They could have spent that resource somewhere else, or just not spent it. They could have finished early, had more practice with the robot.
Get some sleep.
Get some sleep. Yes.
From a CAD standpoint, it's just as easy. You just copy one assembly and paste it on the other side, right?
There's a lot of teams in this who say, oh, it's CAD, so it's free and easy. It's like, no, we're trying to make realistic robots here, not single part extrude robots.
I wish copy paste worked in building robots. All right.
Yeah,
that was
students at this.
Yeah, that was rank number 6. So we're going to move to one of our giveaways before getting to the top 5. Tyler, I think you're going to tell us who won here.
Yep. So we're going to be drawing once again for the 6-stack pulley. So picture on screen, link in chat, by the way, if you're interested in purchasing any of these from West Coast Products. And here's something you can do with it. Why not? So the winner of that is going to be Silverhawk. Congrats, Silverhawk. Silverhawk 676, that is taking that one. Once again, make sure you send Rohit a message in the F4 Discord or DM him with all your info so that can be sent out. And before we get into rank number 5, we're going to be starting our final set of giveaways, and we got 5 of them to give away. So that's going to be for some pop sockets from West Coast Products, as well as some die cut stickers from them. I don't know if it's these exact ones. I'm guessing that they are. And then they also have a bottle opener to celebrate with your diet soda bottles when you win the CADathon. So we do have 5 of those to give away. And the keyword for that, so it's going to be 5 sets essentially. We'll draw 5 times after the number 1 comes out, and the keyword for that one is going to be West Coast Products, just all one word. I'm just making these up as we go along, by the way. So sorry if they're lame. So West Coast Products, one word, type that in chat. By the way, you can do like a sentence that says like, I love West Coast Products. As long as West Coast Products is one word, you can type whatever you want and it still enters you. So just, if you want to type something in chat, give them a big shout out, that sort of thing. Once again, we're going to draw after number 1. And then chat, for those who are playing live, before we get to number 2, we will start a quick prediction contest of who's going to take number 1 between number 1 and number 2 on there. So if you want to bet some fun bucks, I know a few of you asked to do so. We will have a prediction for that before we get into our number 2 rank. But with that said, let's get into our top 5 here, Levi.
Yeah, we're getting to our top 5, the cream of the crop here. And coming in at number 5 is going to be Team 607, Bat Broth.
This robot is really impressive from a detail perspective. I gave them 9 points out of 10 for detail. Like, I think to get those last points, you need to do the wires and like have some crazy cool sponsor panels or something. But this one right up there. It's
it's gorgeous.
Every subsystem has every component that it needs. Most of them are totally mechanically sound, lots of really good details. I'm going to go in specifics on kind of their elevator and their climber mech. So essentially they're another team that decided to package the barrier mech and the climber together. So essentially what happens is they've got this long arm on an elevator, and the arm actually locks in place when they're climbing, and then they just essentially lift with their elevator. So, always a fan of dual purpose mechanisms like that. You'll love to see it. The elevator is really well done. I have no qualms about an elevator like this working in real life. They put a lot of really good detail into the bearing setup. All that's fine. Their carriage looks really good. This robot reminds me a lot of 973. Me and Andrew both said that. Yeah. So it's 973-esque, whatever that means. Again, they're using some really good best practices on arms. They're doing big, nice pivots. They're not using half-inch hex. They're using chain for the last reduction to cut down on backlash. All things that you like to see. And then they have an electromagnet to pull up the barriers. So this is kind of similar to that other team that we saw that was using suction to do that. Essentially, they just have electromagnets just chilling on the bottom of their carriage. They run their carriage down and their arm, and then they pick it up with electromagnets, which is neat. It's just positioning is going to be a problem. This is not a swerve drive. This is a WCD drive, 6-wheel, and then they've got it on an arm and an elevator. But I feel like positioning is just going to be really hard. How can you guarantee that when you pick it up, that the little prongs on the end of the barrier aren't facing the wrong way? It has no way of reorienting that. So I feel like this is another robot that, because of the way that the barrier mechanism is created, it's probably going to be really good at D-scoring. I just can't see it being great at placing them with any, decent amount of time. Essentially, it'd take them forever if they could do it at all.
Yeah, you really hit it to a T. You and I were talking about this one a bunch. Love the aesthetic. I love the design. It's plate and tube, very cleanly done. It's 1072. They're Harker, really great team. They know exactly what they're doing. I think one of my favorite parts about this robot is the very front with the slanted parts to catch the ball from the human player station. That was actually really clever. Not specifically having the slanted diagonals, but their implementation of how it sort of funnels the ball right into their feeder is really clean.
All right, well then we will move into ranking number 4 here, and it's going to be Team 715, the Bandits. Nick, what do you have on the Bandits?
So I think this robot has my favorite barrier mech out of all of the ones that I've seen. Essentially what's happening is they've got this barrier mech. It's mounted to a 1x1. They've got gussets on either side. They've got a really good pneumatic hinge. They're driving both sides, so that way they can spin the barrier. That's the problem with the last robot that we just had. This one can actually spin them. The arm setup is immaculate. It's really good. They've got encoders so they can actually position it correctly. They've got a limelight so they can sense where they're, everything about it just exudes confidence. And I'm a really big fan of the barrier mech. The climber is also really well done. It's got a great ratio on it. It's really robust. Again, they're not using half-inch hex here. Yeah, I really like a lot about what's going on with this robot. One slight issue, it's not a big thing, it's a slight issue, is they are using the West Coast Products friction brake to essentially keep their robot up after time 0 on their climber. The problem is, if you read into the documentation on that thing, it doesn't have a lot of force, and to get around that, you want to put that really early in your gearbox, and they put it really late in their gearbox, which is not what you want to see. They could have easily moved it. And then the other thing is, this robot is beautiful. It's colored great, and then you look at it, and there's literally no way to lift their battery out without having to completely disassemble the climber. So, kind of tripping at the finish line there. Really great robot, but come on, man, you got to be able to take your battery out.
I don't know. I think they're planning on actually charging the battery in the robot.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
But aside from that, I think you really hit all the points of things that this robot could do better, because there's so few of them. The parts are beautifully simple. I think this is the kind of robot that's going to show up to champs, and 80 to 90% of teams in the world will be kicking themselves because they totally could have made this and they didn't, and they should have. This is a beautiful machine. I think one of my favorite things was they had enough detail to make it very clear what their robot was supposed to be doing and how. And detail is one of the categories that's scored out of 10. They didn't have the wires; they didn't go that overboard. But I think it was really nice that I was able to look at this, and within 5 seconds, without even moving my mouse, I knew exactly how it worked. I knew why they made the decisions they did, and I didn't give them points for this because it wasn't a requirement. But aesthetically, it was very pleasing. I love the appearance. It's like high tide mixed with some red, which is always a great combo.
That cyan is good, man. I love it.
It's great. I think this robot could easily be an alliance captain at championships. And what I really loved in the wow factor, I said it has no fluff. It's very straightforward. Every piece has a purpose. No, there's nothing extra. It is the bare minimum of what it needs, and it does it well.
A great robot. And we're going to move into number 3 here, our top 3 teams. Third place will be taking home a $25 West Coast Products gift card. I believe Rohit will be getting in contact with you about that. And it's going to be Team 345, the meme team.
So this is another solid submission from 345. Everybody knows they're that sheet metal team that does CADathons. So Andrew was just talking about, you can open up this CAD model of the last one, and you knew exactly what's going on. This one's a little bit different. This robot is very densely packed, and it takes a little bit to kind of figure out what's going on here. And essentially what's happening is they've got this really cool climber barrier mech. Again, combination of those two. Love to see it. But essentially what's happening is you've got like a 4-stilt elevator, and then you have a linear slide that's a rack and pinion. And on the end of that thing, you have a roller claw that locks in place when it's climbing. And so you've got 3 mechanisms that are all working in perfect harmony, so they can score barriers and they can climb. And now the detail is fantastic. Essentially everything is there. They have some very slight interference issues that could be solved. One thing that I saw is their like intermediate stage on their elevator could really use like an extra cross brace. I feel like it'd be a little bit wobbly when it gets all the way up. But I mean, the detail is there. They've got sensors, they've got cameras, they've got, everything that you would want. It's just really complicated. And so, this is a robot that, you're going to have to spend a long time with your programming team to make sure that this robot would need a lot of automation to not destroy itself in its operation. It's definitely not a manual robot for sure by any means. Do you want to go over the climber? I mean, the shooter, Andrew?
Yeah, if we go back to a picture of it. So I think the shooter was clean. It was well designed. I think it falls into the trap of every other mechanism on this robot in that it is very complex. Not it's for a shooter, it's actually pretty fine. But I think what we're going to find with this robot is unless it has the maintenance, unless it has like a Formula One maintenance crew, I would be terrified to every match that something is going to go wrong. I'm sure they're great engineers and they do it all correctly, but it's definitely a robot where you can take every functionality that exists on this robot and make it simpler, make it more reliable, less moving parts, less reliance on other subassemblies to be in the right spot at the right time. And it would be a superstar robot. I mean, granted, it's our third place. It's a great robot, but the thing keeping it from that top two is really that complexity factor.
Definitely got some 118 energy there. Where
you
need a thing, add an extra degree of freedom, and maybe it'll do the thing that you want.
All right. Well, before we get to our number 2, I will bring Tyler back in for the predictions he alluded to earlier. Tyler, take it away.
Yeah, so what's going on right now, you got about 40 seconds left if you want to bet. It's pretty close right now, but we're down to 2 teams, right? So I guess we can see who the 2 teams are, and we'll just do it in numerical order, which is 479 Tendy Men and 706 Copperhead Robotics. So go ahead and bet. You got 20 seconds left. To do that, just want to give a big thank you and shout out, by the way, to F4 for always doing amazing CADathons every single year, and to Rohit and everybody else who's put in time to make this happen. It's such a cool event, and we're delighted to help out on fun, just doing some stuff in the background with it. But big shout out to all the judges, Levi, Nick, and Andrew for doing an amazing job for that, and all the teams for doing some really cool stuff. So prediction is going to be closed. We're going to be drawing once again for all those giveaways in just a little bit. So make sure you type in West Coast Products, and we're going to be coming into our number 2 ranked team, Levi.
All right. Well, rank number 2 here, it's going to be Team 479, the Tendy Men. Boys, what do you got?
This robot is, I think it's the second rank, like, of my personal ranking, but I think it is my favorite robot. There's just so many small, amazing, well-placed details on this robot. I gave them a 9 on detail out of 10. They're just missing wires, I think. There's just so many. I looked at this robot for a solid, I think, hour before I even started grading them, just looking at various different mechanisms. Their intake, for example, is beautiful. It's essentially a linear slide mechanism. It's really well done. You're utilizing their Mark Forge to for the mounts for the slides. They're actually they have a great crossbar intake that's actually welded in the middle, and that's where they're holding all of their drive for the intake. That's great.
You can see the weld marks on it. They catted the weld marks. This is an example of the kind of robot that a team could build if they have like a lathe, an Omeo, and a Mark Forge 3D printer. This is like the maximum caliber that you can make with that setup, and it's just absolutely beautiful. The other thing that I will talk about is the climber. I'll leave the shooter to Andrew. The climber is
fairly standard climber. It's essentially it hinges open. They have a spring so it can hinge open. They have a winch so that way it'll let it out. They did a great job on the gearing for all of that. They CADed the spring. My only reservation on the climber, and it's a small one, is I would like to see a few more standoffs between the two climber plates. But I mean, I did not have a lot that I found wrong with this robot. It was really excellent.
This is the only robot that I scored that I gave a perfect score to. I think it's completely stunning. I'm just going through my notes right now because there's so much I want to say about this. I don't have the time. I really hope, for the sake of humanity, that the CAD model gets released. And I understand if they don't want to, but because I have it, and that's all that matters to me. But I think so many people in the greater FRC community can learn and benefit from looking at this thing. The manufacturing methods are simple, they're attainable, they're accessible. I think Nick said it right. If you have a lathe and an Omeo, you're set. You can make this robot. Mark Forge too, but most other printers would work. It's so simple in what it does, but it does it so well. In terms of detail, they have the weld beads model. They have sponsor panels that look like a real robot when you're looking at the CAD model, which is impressive. It has everything needed in terms of details to prove the design. I never once questioned anything. All I did was look through in awe. The strategy, I said, it exhibits a thorough understanding of the game at all levels of play, and they have a strong cost-benefit analysis that drove their design decisions. This robot actually doesn't do everything in the game. It cannot score breakers. They evaluated the game. They said, it's so much easier to descore breakers than it is to score them. It's not worth it. They said, we're just going to have a descoring mechanism, which I absolutely love, by the way.
It's a tiny little integrated 4-bar linkage.
Oh, it's a little finger folds out. I'm pretty sure it's printed, but we're not sure. It may be billet aluminum. In this case, it's way overkill.
To the people on that team, if that descoring mech is made out of billet, I pray for your mechanical team. That would be a nightmare to machine.
More or less. And one of my favorite things about this robot is it is such a strong case in convincing whoever looks at it, the judges, any evaluator, that it is effective and it'll work. Now to get back to that shooter part that Nick gave over to me, something I want to point over. They have a turreted shooter that's turreted from the top. The shooter hangs underneath, and it's a pass through with a 971 2016 ball grabbing mechanism, like almost a 1-for-1 copy. It looked like it was perfect, where the ball would come in through one end. If the turret's aligned correctly, which I have no doubts the turret wouldn't be aligned correctly because this looks so well done, I think that they'd be able to pull it off no problem. The ball goes into the grabber mechanism. They can aim. They have limelight on there, and then they just spit it out. And they have wheeled shooter, and it just flies cleanly into the goal. I can envision it. It was one of my favorite parts, and it's packaged so cleanly. We had to remove parts and hide parts in the CAD models to see it, but it's so well done and it's really easy to maintain. I cannot speak highly enough about this robot.
It also pivots. It's using the same small little linear actuators that I think were popularized by High Tide for their shooter.
They can pivot the shot up and down.
Yeah, well, they pivot it down so that way they're legal for their shot, and then they shoot it out.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. When I looked at the renders this afternoon, this was the one that caught my mind. Like, oh my goodness, this is the kind of detail we're getting out of CADathon. This is second place detail too. Like, wow. I mean, you got those welds on there, and second place isn't give them a $25 West Coast Products gift card though to go home with Team 479 here, and we're gonna go ahead and look at the number 1 ranked team of the 2021 Spring CADathon, and it's going to be Team 706 Copperhead Robotics.
This one has so many similar vibes to the last robot we just looked at. Again, it's using a lot of just the plate and printed construction. It's made incredibly well. Now this one has a little bit more focused of a strategy, and the reason that this robot is so highly ranked is, well, I mean, obviously their execution is superb, but they really knocked it out of the park in the detail category and in the strategy, essentially. Because so what's happening here is this robot, they submitted a bunch of supplemental details.
You can see it in the picture.
Oh, can you?
Yeah, you can. You can see the battery.
Well, yeah. So they CADed all their wires. There's not a thing missing on this robot. But I mean, the thing that really blew me away is just the amount of analysis that this team did of this game. They have a free body diagram showing how their climber would work and the force that they have. They have screenshots of every single mechanism run through a calculator. They're showing like how much air they're going to use. They fully break down their cycles. It is seriously impressive. To go into some specifics of the actual robot, I will go ahead and talk about the ball shooter on this one. This is like the last one. I don't know if we mentioned on this one. This is another one that can intake on the ground and it can intake from the human player station. Essentially what happens is if you look in that picture that's on screen right now, their intake pivots up and then what happens is the human player can actually put a ball and it'll actually feed in this way as well as feeding in from the ground. And then it's essentially just held in a tiny little conveyor until it gets time to actually shoot it. Again, all of the details are just immaculate on this robot. The mechanical is sound. I had one issue. I think their conveyor side plates were a little bit aggressively pocketed for me. I'd like to see a little bit more material there, but really it's not that big of a deal. They've got the limelight. They've got the beam brake sensors on either side to make sure they always know where the ball is. Just really, really excellent design here.
Mm-hmm. And you covered it best. I'm looking at my notes, and they're mostly memes, just because, like, I looked at it, I said this was one of the most perfect robots we have submitted. I have almost nothing negative to say. I think the most negative thing I could even think of was I think the design was a little overkill in some regards. I think you could make a robot that does the same things in half the parts, but there's no kill like overkill, right? I mean, if the worst thing I can say is that they have too much stuff and they still do it perfectly, I mean, I think that's an absolute worst thing, right? Again, I think I'm looking at my notes. In the details, they CADed the wires, and I've never seen wires move like that before, granted, but I think it was really well done in terms of, like, if I were judging them on their ability to path their wires, this would be really good. Like, if they were making this robot, your electrical team should be referencing this CAD because it's really good. In terms of their strategic design, I just wrote the math checks out. Like, they have so much prep work and so much design in their analysis and strategy that they know this game inside and out better than the people on the game design committee. I would be willing to bet.
I can confirm that.
And then competitiveness, I just said TSMFC because that is what they have in their documentation. I completely agree. It's just a little bit extra in terms of they do have more parts than they need, but I can't fault them for that. It's a beautiful robot, and they should be very proud.
Excellent. Well, that is our number one ranked team of the spring 2021 CADathon. Tyler, we've got some giveaways to give out here. What do we got?
Yeah, we got a whole bunch. So let's bring those up. Do that once again. This is for a swag bag from West Coast Products. So it's going to be a pop socket, a bottle opener, and then some stickers from them. If you do win, by the way, as mentioned, you can either message myself here in Twitch or on Discord. So under First Updates Now, Tyler or Rohit with your shipping information. Once again, first name, last name, mailing address would be fantastic. We're going to be drawing for 5 winners. So it's going to be just a moment between each one, if you don't mind on there. So our first winner is going to be Allison865. Allison865, congratulations. You are the first winner. I got to figure out where I'm leaving all these. There we go. Okay, our next winner is going to be Poofy Jacket 254. Congrats, Poofy Jacket. Well deserved. Our next winner is going to be somebody who's not following. Unfortunately, we do have a rule that you do have to follow, so we're going to re-roll for that one. So it's going to be Tiger or Tigor 1, Tigor 1. Congratulations on that. And our next winner is going to be Shubi. Congratulations. So that's 5. No, that's 4. That's right, because math is hard. The last one is going to be Mentor Built Team. Mentor Built Team, congratulations for winning that as well. So those are our 5 winners there. Once again, please make sure you message First Updates Now here on Twitch or on Discord. We'll get back to you after the stream is done, or you can also message Rohit, whatever works best for all y'all on that. And thanks again to West Coast Products for some awesome giveaways, once again, for both people watching and for the prize winners. And don't forget, you can win even more giveaways on the F4 Discord. So I'm sure Rohit can post that link once again in chat, but some more giveaways on there as well, too.
Yeah, that's right. And one of those giveaways going to our #1 ranked teamer, $50 gift card for West Coast Products, going to Team 706 there. Congratulations, Team 706, for winning the F4 CADathon Spring 2021 competition. And thank you, everyone who has watched or participated. We'll be back in the summer with the 11th biannual CADathon. Thank you to our 2 judges tonight for your time and dedication. And don't forget that if you want more First Robotics in your life, make sure you hit that follow or subscribe button to Fun on both Twitch and YouTube. Before we head out, Tyler has a couple of shout outs to make. Tyler?
Yeah. End of stream shout outs, by the way, from Poofy Jacket, actually on there. So let me bring that up. I think he's just congratulating everybody. There we go. Says, congrats, everyone. Good luck to everyone for the next F4 CADathon. Once again, it's from Poofy Jacket 254, redeeming a shout out on stream. By the way, when the stream ends, we are going to go raid another channel, because why not? It is, by the way, I want you, if you don't mind, it's just this random person I met in the city I live who has 1 person watching right now. So if you can just go in there, even for a couple minutes, and just raid. He's playing Valorant, but just go raid and just spam his channel as much as you want. I don't condone, spamming our channel, but go ahead, spam his channel. I don't mind. So once again, we'll go do that afterwards. Thanks again to F4 for a great stream.
All right. On behalf of myself and the F4 CADathon Planning Committee, I'd like to thank all the teams for amazing CADathon creations, to everyone that viewed or supported the CADathon. Thank you, Fun, and especially our producer, Tyler, for the support and promotion of the stream. We'll see you this summer with another CADathon right here with more content from First Updates Now. Talk to you then.
We would like to thank our friends at Stryker for supporting this video. Stryker is looking for current and future First alumni to join their internship program, and First mentors who are looking for a great career with a company who actually supports their First journey. Go to careers.stryker.com to learn more. You can also directly support Fun by joining Fun Nation. Click the join button, and just for a few bucks a month, you'll unlock special perks and directly support us so we can keep making great content. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to stay up to date on our new videos. Keep the conversation going and provide your input to our content. Watch our live shows at twitch.tv/firstupdatesnow. Join our Discord at discord.gg/firstupdatesnow, and check out Fun FTC on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and First Updates Now on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter.